Now, wouldn't it be nice to get medical attention and not have to leave your home? Now you can, thanks to Remote MD. Remote MD is pleased to announce they have initiated a telemedicine program for residents in North Carolina. The telemedicine program is available to all residents in North Carolina, including Rutherford and Polk counties. It is designed to treat common medical illnesses right from your home. Now, isn't that great? No appointment is necessary, no waiting for days to see someone. This is a wonderful opportunity for people who are struggling financially or have a complicated insurance plan. But your health is important to you and you want attention now. There are no copays or deductible, and unlimited usage programs start at just $59.99 a month. Learn more about this program. Contact Remote MD today at www.remotemd.net. Again, that's www.remotemd.net.
And take a look at our weather forecast for today. Cloudy, chance of showers, highs around 75. Do have a chance of some showers and cloudy tonight. Showers, thunderstorms.
From ABC
lows around
News.
60. Now tomorrow, a chance of severe thunderstorms.
The U.S.
Highs
is now
tomorrow
averaging more than 2.6 million daily coronavirus vaccinations. After a record 3.38 million were reported on Thursday. ABC's Lionel Moise says
more shots are on the way. Coronavirus response coordinator Jeff
100.9 FM. 590 AM WCAB Rutherfordton.
Versus a Moderna or Pfizer, and will achieve across time a more regular cadence, a more regular weekly cadence.
11 million doses of its single-shot vaccine will arrive next week.
At the same time, though, the 7-day average of new cases nationwide continues to increase, and Dr. Anthony Fauci tells ABC,
I'm quite concerned, as are my colleagues in the public health arena, that we might start seeing a resurgence of cases.
He says it's important to maintain safety measures, including wearing masks. President Biden continues to criticize Georgia's new election law. Among other things, it makes it illegal for people to give out food and water to voters in line to vote. But Republican election official Gabriel Sterling, who challenged former President Trump's unfounded fraud claims, says that change merely closes a loophole.
Literally, we have reports where they're handing out Warnock water. I mean, that's the issue we're running into. So we basically closed the loophole. They can still hand out water and food. That's set to be 150 feet away, the way it has been for decades in this state.
President Biden said the Justice Department is looking into the law. Officials at the Suez Canal looking into ways to move that massive container ship. It is still stuck, halting canal traffic. Captain Nicholas Sloan explains why it's such a challenge.
It's most probably the biggest science ship that's gone through the canal ever. And that location of the canal makes it extremely challenging. So no one's ever done that.
The pileup of ships continues on both sides. You're listening to ABC News.
It's such a beautiful night. Look at the stars.
They're amazing. Did you know 20% of stars have planets orbiting them capable of sustaining life?
How did you know that? You must spend a ton of time.
I was not going out over the air.
My fault.
Okay.
My fault.
Hit that.
Hit that national.
The Morse code.
Okay. Give me two seconds to get that ready to go. And here we go.
That was the International Morse Code signal. Now, that did mark the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. Well, we had a 4-minute technical difficulty there.
Plus, Gilbert runs in here 3 minutes before ahead of time.
That's what happens when I bounce in here. When I bounced in, we had microphone difficulty. Folks, this is live radio. Okay, live radio, live local radio at its finest. This is great. No, if you don't make mistakes, then how do people know it's real? Yeah, they think it's all set up and pre-recorded. It is not. We are here at 8:04 on this March 23rd date. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes because, as we all know, what did I say? 23rd. Why did I say 23rd? I said because I'm just behind schedule. 27th. Because that's the pre-recorded date. The 27th date of March. I was looking at the thing and it said 3/27. So the 27th date of March. And what is the weather outside today? 52 degrees and sunny. There, that proves this is real. This proves this is live. We know the weather. Welcome this morning. WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I am an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is somebody enrolled with the Internal Revenue Service to represent taxpayers in all matters. I prepare tax returns. I am also a financial planner. I think that was about the time we realized the microphone wasn't working. Yes, okay. I'm a financial planner. I was voted Best of Rutherford Financial Planner 2020. It's hard to believe that was just 2 months ago. This tax season has just, I was making appointments this week, and the first open appointment I have right now is April 2nd, and I'm going, wait a minute, April 2nd? That's next week. It was just hard to believe. And it's the never-ending tax season. Tax season has been extended to May 17th, and that is not just an extension to file. That is an extension to file and pay, okay, which makes that very important. Normally, everybody knows it's April 15th. You have to have your tax return done by April 15th. If you're a C Corp, it's also April 15th. If you're an S Corp, an S Corporation, and that's an LLC or a partnership that's being taxed as an S Corporation, or if you're a partnership, those tax returns are due on March 15th. Okay, now it's May 17th because May 15th falls on a Saturday, so it's going to push it back to the next business day, which is Monday, May 17th. Originally, the IRS commissioner did not want to extend tax season, and I, for one, congratulated him for it because it forces all kinds of changes in the system. It's not just like your home computer that you're moving the clock back. This is a major systemic change, and it affects many other dates. And he was against it. He said, just let people file for extensions. If they're impacted by COVID or their jobs or whatever's happened. Of course, there's some disasters that have hit the country, the ice storm, freak ice storm in Texas, and just some general bad weather all around. But he said, fine, we will address those individually, and everybody can just file an extension. An extension, however, is just an extension to file. It is not an extension to pay. If you owe money, the money's still due April 15th. I said, no problem, just leave it alone and let it go. And he was going with that. I was really surprised all the way up until somewhere around the 15th, 16th of March, and then he changed and he gave them a 30-day extension that Congress was pushing for. And he told them, he said, this is going to take up a lot of bandwidth, a lot of time for us to do. I can't do all these other programs you want me to do. The big one being EIP number 3, okay, the stimulus, as they're calling it, stimulus number 3. It's got a lot of different names. It's very confusing to people. It's technically being called the recovery rebate, is what it's called, the stimulus, economic impact payment, EIP, stimulus payment. They're all the same thing. So people are calling me and they're hearing on the news, they're saying, well, I've got my stimulus, but I didn't get my economic impact payment. Well, no, it's the same thing. And they look at me like, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. As a matter of fact, this is EIP number 3 is what we're calling it. Somebody else calls up. I just heard news about the recovery rebate. No, that's your stimulus. That's your economic impact. You already got that. So it's got some different names because it's in the different acts worded differently, but it's all the same thing. $1,200 per adult, $500 per child last year. And then in January, February, there was $600 per everybody, taxpayer and dependents under the age of 16 and under. on the tax return, and now we've got this $1,400 per person on the tax return, and they're saying it's excluded of age, it's excluded of a lot of things that were the other ones limited. Okay, so the other thing I'm getting a lot of phone calls on is, if I don't get this money, I will lose it. That is not true. If you did not get the $1,200 or the $600, $1,200 per person, $500 per dependent, or the $600, we put it on your tax return, your 2020 tax return. There is a form in there called the Recovery Rebate Credit form, the RRC form. So on the RRC form, we put down how much you got. The computer will then calculate how much you should have gotten based on the latest law. See, people with ITINs, certain numbers, certain people don't qualify for it, and there's income limitations. Yes, people with ITINs, individual tax identification numbers, those start with a 900. Usually they're non-American filers, non-citizen filers. Those people are not eligible for these credits yet. That could change, but as of right now, they're not. So the program, and of course there's income limitations. I'm not going to get into all that. It's a bunch of boring numbers. Just know that everybody knows. They know if they're phasing out. Phasing out means you don't get the money because you made too much money. You had too much income. And that's earned income, the taxable income, and that does include certain investment income, certain rental income, Schedule C income, K1 income. All of that counts, gets that number up there. So you may not get it. And there's a phase out where you may get less than the $1,200 or less than the $600, and they'll phase it out to zero. The program does all of that for the 2020 tax year. So you will get your money. You've got to file a tax return, but you will get your money. Now, what if you didn't have a job? You still file a tax return to claim the credit if you didn't get it. Because what we're finding is that people, there's people that may not have had a full-time job. They're volunteers. There's a whole group of people. Usually it's people that are pre-retirement. They're not working anymore. They haven't worked in a few years. They don't file a tax return. They don't get Social Security yet. That group of people, or young people that are out of high school, they're not working, they're in college, they're not somebody's dependent. So the IRS didn't have you anywhere in the system. You just file a tax return claiming those credits, filling out the RRC form. Okay, and you will get the $1,200 or plus the $600, or whichever one you didn't get. A lot of people, and we've yet to figure out why, and I've spoken with several agents from the IRS about this, and they didn't have they kind of had what they thought, the reason they thought, and we looked up individual cases and tried to figure out why. There are people that got the $1,200 but did not get the $600. I've had a few people that did not get the $1,200 but got the $600. So why, we don't know. And now there's no tool on the IRS website to go back and look at that 2020 tax, stimulus payment. You remember early on the tool that didn't work for 3 months, and then finally it worked. Well, they got rid of it. Tool's gone. For 2020, there is a tool for this current $1,400, and I've gotten mixed reviews. Some people, it said not enough information available, or we can't tell you if you're going to get it or not, some wording like that, and then in their bank account their $1,400 showed up, even though the tool told them no information was available. So it's been like that. Other people, it says you're going to get it, and they haven't gotten it. So I'm getting mixed reviews there. According to the IRS, the latest stimulus, the EIP-3, 90 million people have already gotten it. There's another 30 million to go. I know. Lou, my engineer this morning, Lou. Thank you, Lou. Thank you for catching the microphone thing. It would have been 14
minutes to death.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, we could have found out at 5 minutes to 9 that my microphone wasn't working. We could be talking about what a great show I had. The microphone wasn't working. So Lou, my engineer this morning, is just right up on top of it. So Lou's got that puzzled look on her face. Lou, if you're puzzled, can you imagine us? We are extremely puzzled. The IRS commissioner said never the former IRS commissioner said never in his career with the Internal Revenue Service, with the Treasury Department, has he ever seen where Congress is changing laws affecting prior year taxes midstream in the middle of a filing season? With everything else going on, they're changing the laws. Okay, so getting back to stimulus, because everybody wants to know. But as Todd is so fond of saying, unless I'm standing here with $1,400 checks in my hand, nobody really wants to hear what I got to say. They just want to know when they're going to get their money. Okay? And the answer to that is we don't know. 90 million of them have gone out. There's 30 million left to go. And to further make everybody verklempt, that's a nice Yiddish word, verklempt, to make everybody else verklempt, confused, is, I translated that, make everybody else confused, is the fact that they have so many different ways they've been getting the money out to people. So they were doing direct deposit if they had your information. If you were on Social Security, they were depositing the money right where your Social Security payments were supposed to go. Now there were people that had Social Security that didn't get the money. So you went on that tool and you asked for it and they got a check. Other people had it direct deposited. Then they started giving out a debit card, an EIP debit card that many people got. I don't know if it was a regional thing. I haven't seen anybody around here with one, but I've been reading about it. So they handed out an EIP debit card. It came from the Treasury Department, and they loaded the $1,200, whatever money you got, the $600, whatever money you got. So, if you had 3 people, it would have been $1,800. They loaded that money on there. The people quickly used that money and threw the cards away because they had no money on them anymore. Well, they used those same cards to load the $1,400. Oh, yes. So there were whole families. So if you got your family of 4, right, and you're getting 4 times $1,400, got loaded on these cards. $5,600, by the way. For those of you doing math real quick, $5,600 got loaded on these cards. Well, they've thrown the cards out, or they shredded them, or whatever. So now they're calling, trying to get somebody at the Internal Revenue Service to issue them another card. From what I understanding, they weren't ready for that. So I'm not sure how they're handling that. But that was, I believe, around 900,000 for about 1 million people. That, yeah, it's a substantial amount of money. These are people that had no bank accounts. So they were issuing these debit cards. I've yet to see one. I'd like to see one. I don't know anybody around here that got one. And I've asked, has anybody, how'd you get your money? So I asked people. So where are we at? Another 30+ million people have not gotten this $1,400 stimulus payment. And what the IRS is saying is if you don't get it, or if you get a lesser amount than you think you should have gotten, okay, what we're supposed to do is wait until next year's tax return and put it on the tax return next year. We're going to use the recovery rebate credit form again. Sure, they didn't make that form to just use it one time. Come on. They're going to try to, they're going to try to get more use out of that. I think that's not, I think they're going to change their minds on that, because the whole reason that Congress created this whole thing is because of COVID. Remember that? The COVID, the China virus. So the whole reason this money's supposed to be getting out there is because people desperately needed it. Desperately needed it. Had to have it. Had to have it as soon as possible. And why $1,400? Because they did $600 last time, and they wanted everybody to have $2,000. And they had to have it. Now they're saying we're going to wait till next year. It's a year from today. When Gilbert Talks Taxes 2022 is on the air, we'll be talking about this $1,400 you didn't get. Now, there's a lot of information going on out there, and believe it or not, the media, Lou, is spreading information that is not what the IRS is telling us. I don't know where they're getting it, but I had somebody come into the office, emphatic, that he had heard this. I don't listen to mainstream. I don't listen to any news. I get my news from one topic, and I get it right from the websites of the departments. Somebody asked me, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later, to discuss a specific North Carolina form. I went to the North Carolina Department of Revenue website and pulled that information up. I'm not going to go to ABC News. They don't know. They're listening to this program, Lou.
They're
They're learning from us. Yeah, they're not. They're not. There's nobody on there that understands tax returns. I know there isn't because I listen to how they report the news and how they report about taxes, and they say things that are erroneous all the time. And I'm like, that's not how that works. But somebody explained it to them, and they're just repeating it. So somebody came into my office emphatic that if they didn't get that $1,400 now, they were going to lose it. I said, no. As a matter of fact, that's what the IRS said, the opposite of that. This could take a year for you to get it, and if you don't get it, we're going to be putting it on next year's tax return. Okay? And then they said they had a child born in January. And they said, the news said, I can get $1,400 for that child born in January. I said, I don't think so. This is supposed to be because of COVID, and the child was born this year. And he said, well, no, you need to put it on my child on the tax return. I said, I can't do that. It's a 2020 tax return. I can't put a child born in 2021 on a 2020 tax return. And this person was emphatic that I had to do that. And I told them, no, that's not how it works. I know, because, well, and I understand. I'm not blaming him. I understand. He heard it on the news, and he came ready to tell Gilbert how it was going to be and what he'd heard, and what was because he wants his money. And fair enough, it's his money. So that raises a whole question of, what about people that were born towards the end of the year? The IRS doesn't have your information. They qualify for the $1,200. They also qualify for the $600. Well, not people that were born. I'm sorry. People that were born qualify $1,200 total. They qualify for the $500 from last year. They qualify for the $600 that came out in January. So you got to get them on your tax return, but you got to get them on a tax return in the year they were born. Okay, you cannot put a person. So he knew it. He knew what he'd heard, what he believed he'd heard. So we're getting there's a lot of information out there. A lot of it's wrong. The other thing that a lot of people are calling about is the new child tax credit. Where is their $3,000? Okay, for the new child tax credit. We don't. The commissioner told Congress he's not even going to address that until June. That's not even. They want a portal set up. They want you to access irs.gov, put in your information, and they're going to do it through payments through the portal. He said June or July at the soonest on that. So people that have heard on the news that they're supposed to be getting this money with their tax refund, no, that's not happening. Okay, so I think this is all that I know, and this is in real world what's happening from a real tax preparer who's doing taxes every day, not from some news anchor who's repeating something they've heard. I don't even have notes. Lou, you're my witness. Everything I've just said is off the top of my head. I've got notes I'm going to get into right now, but that was all off the top of my head. That's a day in the life of Gilbert, preparing taxes. So we're going to do that. When we come back, I said last week I was going to speak about the executors' roles, and I just want to hit on that a little bit more. I'm going to be getting into that probably every week. I'm going to talk a little bit about it till the end of tax season, which, Lou, we are going to stick around till the May 17th. Actually, May 15th is that Saturday. We're going to stick around till that deadline. Normally, I'm done with the program either right before April 15th or right after April 15th. It just depends on how I feel. just depends how rough the year was, the tax season was. So yeah, if they extended tax season, that means they extended Gilbert Talks taxes. Sorry, Lou. See, Lou and we're having our business meeting now too. Normally we talk about this during the week, but since I got you here today, so we are going to go ahead and we'll be here till then. So I'll be talking every Saturday, executors' roles, what to do when someone passes away. There's a lot to it. I could do whole programs on it, but I don't think everybody would want to hear just about that. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about the executor's role, reiterate some of this. I know I've been talking about it over the past few weeks, but I know not everybody listens for the whole hour, so I want to keep bringing that topic up, and then we're going to just talk about other things. But this is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
When you get a hankering for lunch, remember Jesse James Railroad Express. They have a menu full of delicious items such as burgers, chicken salad croissants, fresh salads, hot dogs, taco salads, and much, much more. Don't forget the refreshing drinks like milkshakes, Coke floats, or hand-dipped ice cream. They are now serving French fries and onion rings. Hours are Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 4 p.m., closed Wednesdays and Sundays. For takeout, give them a call at 828-447-4644, located at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherford. Don't forget, Mondays only, 99-cent hot dogs with mustard, chili, and onions. That's Jesse James of Railroad Express. All aboard!
I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
We are back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. I was interrupted last time. We had, at the beginning of the program, for those of you wondering what happened and why all the laughter, all the jocularity here in the studio, is we had a microphone malfunction. Neither Lou nor I were aware of it. And so we had 4 minutes of dead air. But no, Gilbert was here just talking away the whole time. And it was really a good opening, wasn't it, Lou? It was fantastic. It was a fantastic opening. I hope the rest of the program is that good. So we fixed the problem. We lost 4 minutes, but we are on the air. Those of you live streaming, they got to watch the whole thing. Those of them live streaming, www.wcab59.com. Those of you, I'm wearing my vintage Enrico tie here. Look at that, huh? Looks great. The color looks great. Those of you tuning in, thank you. And those of you that tune in later, that catch this on YouTube later, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for enjoying the program. Thank you for commenting. Now, if you need to reach me, you can call me at 828-289-9300. That is my office number. You can make an appointment to come see me. If you catch me and I answer the phone, I just might answer a tax question for you. Todd last week was absolutely surprised. I said on the air, I actually had I've had CPAs call me, tax attorneys call me. The last question, just one quick question, but we do that. I was telling Lou, sometimes it's easier for us just to pick up the phone. You know, we all got a network of friends in the business, and it's just as easy to pick up the phone and ask them that question real quick than it is to look it up, because sometimes people can just, off the top of their head, just get it out way faster than all the data you have to go through. But I appreciate those of you that listen and those of you that call me. My email address is gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. I do have two offices. You want me to give out your number here? What number do you want me to give out? 3356. So you can call the studio. Lou's actually got a pen in hand, like in the air, ready to go. You can call the studio, 828-287-3356. Okay? I didn't give out the secret number. I gave out the right one. Okay. Yeah, there is a secret number. Yeah, I don't even know it. That's how secret it is. I have two offices. I have one right here at Whitesides Road, 113 Whitesides Road, right next to Southern Baptist Church. I have another office in Tryon, the 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. And I see clients at both those offices. Okay. Executor's role. I'm just looking at the time here. How much time? Because I could talk about this without any notes for at least an hour. This is a topic, you know, I try to have fun with the show. We talk about a lot of things, but this is a topic that to me is very serious. and very close to heart because I work closely with people that are going through a lot of, end of life. I don't know any other way to say it. End of life issues, because financial planning, the money, the estate, the wills, that is also important. It gives so many people peace of mind knowing they've got this at least taken care of, at least something prepared, done what they can with what they have, what they can do with what they have. And I try to help people. Now, after somebody passes away, there is a person that's got to administer all of this, whether it's a will, whether it's an estate, a trust. Well, you're going to have an estate. When somebody passes away, that passing creates an estate. All their belongings are now part of that estate. Whether they have a will designating specific items to specific beneficiaries, or they don't have a will, they die what's called intestate, or they die without a will, and now you have to go through the probate process to figure out, what goes where, who gets what. Or they have beneficiaries with life insurance policies, 401ks, IRAs, whether traditional or Roth, retirement plans, where they designate a beneficiary and the beneficiary directly gets that money. All of this and handling all of this falls on one person, and that one person is called the trustee or the executor. If it's a female, the executrix. It's the, you can call it a fiduciary. Different states have different names for it, but it's all the same thing. Actually, different companies, different insurance companies will have different. Somebody called me up just this week and said, what's a fiduciary? So I said, well, a fiduciary is anybody that's responsible for administering somebody's money. I'm a fiduciary because I have, as a financial planner, I have control over people's assets. I have what's called AUM, assets under management. So I am a fiduciary. I have a trust account and I do these things. And I said, why do you ask? And he said, well, because I'm the executor for my for a grandfather who lived in another state, and all the mail keeps coming to the fiduciary. I said, I'm the executor. I said, well, no, you're the same thing. That's the same thing. You're the responsible party. So whatever they're calling you, it doesn't matter. You're the responsible party. And I've shared this story. I'm going to share it again. Years ago, the executor, let's just use that generic word for all of it right now, male and female, the executor would be responsible for the assets when they got it. Because the executor was usually a family member, usually somebody with not too much experience in financial matters, many of them were now responsible for pools of money, bank accounts and whatever, assets that were bigger than they'd ever seen before. They had more money than they've ever had any kind of experience in doing anything with. So they would do things, they would make mistakes, they would lose money, they'd invest it incorrectly, and pretty much, other than having some upset, beneficiaries and heirs, not much happened. And that kind of changed. There was a case where the executor, happened to be a lady, decided to invest the money because, after all, how hard could it be? Warren Buffett does it, right? If he can do it, I can do it. And she proceeded to lose all the money. And she invested it in a legitimate investment that just went south. And the company lost all its money, went bankrupt, and took all the shareholders with it. She had put all the money in there. Well, it was quite a bit of money. So the beneficiaries, the heirs, sued her. And this was family. This was all family. They sued her. It went to court, and the judge said her argument was, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not an investor. This just seemed like the right thing to do, and I did it, and I shouldn't be held liable. And the judge said, no, you are liable. If you knew what you didn't know, you knew you didn't know this, why didn't you hire a professional? You should have gotten lawyers. You should have gotten CPAs. You should have gotten financial planners involved. You didn't. You chose to do this. You are liable. And she had to make all the heirs, we use the word make them whole. That means she had to pay them back all the money they were due. Fortunately for them, she was able to do that. She had some money, which obviously that's why they sued her. They knew that, must have known that. She had some money, and they sued her, and she had to pay them all back. And that kind of changed a lot of things in our world where you can't use that excuse anymore. You will now be held liable. The IRS will hold you liable. I've got a situation right now where somebody came into my office running, literally running, last week. They sold a major asset. A person passed away, and they had a small business. The business really had just some hard assets. There really wasn't a business to sell, per se. The business was the person that passed away. Pretty much their personality was the business. Okay? Let me just say it that way. So when they passed away, there were some hard assets, and there were some other assets. Well, the assets all got sold, and this money, this large pool of money, is sitting in a bank account. So the executor's doing the right thing. It's sitting in a bank account there, and the creditors, people that are owed money, are screaming that they want their money right now, and you got heirs screaming they want their money. But she doesn't want to do a thing till the tax return is prepared, because there is going to be a tax liability. And I said, you're doing the right thing, number one, because the IRS will hold you liable. There have been stories where the executors have released money just under pressure. Family members are screaming they want their money. Well, what I said to her is, they didn't have this money while this person was alive, and this person just passed away. They can wait for their money, because a tax return for an estate takes a while to put together, and you don't have all the moving parts yet. There's still some numbers that are missing. There's still some things that need to be found. There's files we need to go to. That's why some of these estates take several years to close out. Some take a while. My famous, who's become famous now, he's almost legendary. People come to the office and want to hear the Uncle Marvin story, which I've told on the air probably 50 times. Uncle Marvin's estate took 2 years. The attorney handling it was finding insurance policies from the cabinet 6 months later. They had to go through all these documents. No piece of paper can just be thrown away. You don't know what's on that piece of paper. You have to look at every file, and you can't just assume. And you go, oh, this says this is an insurance contract. There's no dollar amount written on here. Throw it out. No, every piece of paper is important. Every piece of paper needs to be looked at. Okay, so these things take a while. So I told her, I said, they're just going to have to wait. Don't come under this kind of pressure, because as an executor, you're going to get a lot of pressure. So there's bill collectors, there's heirs looking for money, but most important of all, you have the IRS. That tax return needs to be done. Tax return needs to be done. Just got a question in here. It's a burning question. It almost burned my hand. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Okay? The person that asked that question is listening. Let me get back to the serious matter here. So I told this executor, you're going to just wait. We're going to get the tax return done, and we're going to find out how much we owe the IRS, because you don't know. Now, I doubt. So they sold this hard asset. There's this money sitting in the bank. It's quite a bit of money. So I doubt the IRS bill is going to be more than that. But I'm not going to let her. I'm not going to advise her. She can do whatever she's going to do, or whatever she wants to do, because I don't have that kind of control over this. But they come to me for advice. My advice is, you're going to wait till we get this tax return done. We need to know exactly where we are with the IRS. I wouldn't give a penny out to anybody. They don't until you know. Everybody is or behind the IRS as far as getting paid, especially in this situation, because there's some things in this estate. I'm trying to be careful what I say. I don't want to say too much. There are some things in the estate that are specifically taxed at a higher rate. So we've got capital gains. I can say that. We've got capital gains in there, and quite a bit of capital gains, and I want to make sure that we get that covered. So, of course, the person completely agrees with me. They're going to hold off. And unfortunately, she's the one that's got to fend off the Indians at the fort as they come, because they're after her. They want to get their money. And I understand they want to get their money. But executors, so just know you are held liable. We're going to go ahead and take another break here. We have 2 breaks left, right, Lou? Yeah. 2 breaks. Let me split them up here. Give me one in just 1 minute. So the whole takeaway from that little short talk is executors. I want you to know that you're going to be held liable. So find somebody you can work with. I've got a lot of experience working with estates and trusts and estate matters, decedents, tax returns, intestate tax returns. Feel free to call me. I would love to prepare those tax returns. Remember, the person that passed away, in the year they passed away, they have to file a tax return. And even if they don't have a tax liability, I had this conversation 2 weeks ago where the attorney, and the attorney was not an attorney that does this all the time, but they were helping too. It was a family friend kind of a thing. It wasn't who they contracted, but the attorney said, well, he doesn't have all he had was Social Security and a little pension. He doesn't have to file a tax return. I say, no, we have to file a tax return. Let's get the final tax return filed. This lets the IRS know this person's passed away. It shuts down their Social Security number with the IRS. It's going to prevent potential fraud later, and it's the final tax return. Get that done. Now, or they file a tax return because they have to file a tax return. A lot of times they get a refund. If they've had withholding on their pensions, withholding on distributions, they get a refund. So you want to file that tax return. That's got to get done. And then if there's a trust, if there's an estate that has to file a tax return, we need to do that. If you're in probate, they're going to want an EIN number. The IRS now knows about this matter. We need to file a tax return there. Whether you owe money or not, we file these tax returns. And I can help you navigate through all of that, especially if you've had no experience with that. And I work closely with attorneys, because some attorneys do the tax return, most don't. As a matter of fact, most don't want to touch the thing. Well, it's just not what they do. Back in the day, a lot of them used to do it, but now with e-filing and all the requirements and everything, I'm having a lot of attorneys that would just rather work with a tax professional. And they'd rather work with, because I'm an enrolled agent, they'd rather work with an enrolled agent, a CPA, or another tax attorney that does file tax returns. So you can go either way, but don't, executors, please do not try to handle this on your own. It is the proverbial can of worms. Proverbial can of worms. There are so many moving parts to it. That's the thing. I just can't stress enough. And then you've done your work, you've done the tax return, you've done it all, you've paid the IRS bill, you've done all your compliance. So if there are things do happen, because mistakes do happen, at least you say, I've done everything, and you're off the hook because you've done everything that needed to be done. And mistakes do happen, things do happen. Heirs and beneficiaries do get grieved. Now, there is a difference between an heir and a beneficiary. A beneficiary is somebody designated in an insurance policy, designated in a 401k, IRA, SEP Simple, a plan as the person receiving the money. You still have to facilitate that paperwork, usually by giving them death certificates, things like that. But then an heir is a person named in the will. And those are the ones. They're not always the same. They can be two completely different people. They can be groups of people. I mean, every situation is different. Let's go ahead and take that break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes right here, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
Back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. Okay, you got a question A listener wants to know when he can amend for his 1099-G. This listener already filed his tax return. He had unemployment income. He got a 1099-G. Okay, originally, unemployment income was fully taxable. I did a whole program warning people that if they did not have withholding on their unemployment, they were going to be on the hook for taxes. Okay, because unemployment is taxable. It is income. Okay, so it is taxable income. Now the IRS midstream March 11th changed that law, and they said that they are going to exempt. Now, the IRS, the federal government. Let me be real clear here. The federal government, the United States federal government, said they are going to exempt up to $10,200 of unemployment income. Okay? They're going to exempt up to $10,200 of unemployment income from the tax return. So they did that March 11th. Okay? 50, 60 million tax returns had already been filed when they decided to make this change. And another, I don't know how many, tens of millions were in some kind of process of being finished. Okay? Now, okay, so that's fine. But to add another layer of complication to it, a lot of the states said, we're not exempting anything. That's taxable income. They've already put that in their budget because they're the ones that handed out the unemployment. They know how much money they handed out, so they can make reasonable estimates of how much tax they're going to collect from that money. So this is it's a budgetary. It's not that they're greedy people. They're just budgetary issue. They're aware of this. This is taxable income. Just because the IRS decided to change it, the federal government, doesn't mean the state's going to. Okay? So we have yet to get guidance on what the states are doing. So the IRS said, do not amend. Do not amend your tax return to claim this credit. And this week they reiterated and told us, we actually got an email from them. When I say us, I'm talking about practitioners. We get emails, tax pros, as the IRS calls us. We get emails from them. They said they are working on a system where they're going to recalculate those millions and millions and millions of tax returns that had unemployment income on it, and they're going to be issuing you a refund, either into the bank account that's on the tax return, or they're going to mail you a check to the address on the tax return. They are asking, please do not amend. So I know that people have already amended because I've gotten phone calls from people. And I've said, no, you got to wait. And they're like, well, no, we need this money. We want to get this money. And it's really not that much money for a lot. It depends on your tax bracket. So they're exempting $10,000. Or it can be a lot of money, depending on your tax bracket. I mean, it can be a couple of $1,000s for some people. It can be a couple of hundred for other people. It just depends how much. The IRS is asking, please don't amend. Wait. Okay? Wait, they're going to do something. We don't know what that something is yet. I mean, we know how they say they're going to do it, but so far, from what we understand, they haven't done anything yet. But as soon as I hear something, I will talk about it. So listener out there, do not amend. Just sit back and wait. Okay, that phone's ringing now. I tapped into something there. That's okay. Oh, and the texts are coming in. There. What if you did amend? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. We don't know. If you already amended, I don't know what to tell you on that one. Okay, let me get now. I have 11 minutes left. Okay, so the question's been posed to me. Getting back on the executor topic, what do you see the biggest problem with? People who don't have wills, people who have wills. Well, clearly, having a will is the absolute best way to prepare your estate and your plans. And when I say have a will prepared, I want you to go to an attorney that specializes in wills, that does it as a part of their practice, okay, and have a will drafted. Okay, I'm not giving a plug to any attorney, but I am gonna say this: work with an attorney that this is what they do. Okay, in their practice, it is try to find somebody that, of course, you know, when you're getting into smaller towns like this, a lot of attorneys they have to do multiple things: family law, some will do criminal law, some will do contract law, because they have to, because there's not enough of, you know, one thing, especially when they're starting a practice. But try to find one that really knows wills and estates, knows trust law, because it's indispensable, and it's not that expensive unless you have a super complicated estate with a lot of moving parts and just a lot of things. But you can realistically have a will done with a medical power of attorney and just all the things that you need at a reasonable price. I'm not going to quote any numbers because it is all negotiable, but, you know, call around, talk to a couple of them. But I wish, I told Lou, I wish there was a law that said you have to have a will. I really do. That's how strong I feel about a will, because I see it on the other end. I see the good and the bad. I see the family where they're a close family, and the death of this person, whether it's a parent or a grandparent or a brother or sister or whatever, draws them closer together. And I've seen where it just tears them apart, and they're all fighting and scrambling, and they all want to know where their money is. So a will just cuts through all of that. Okay, I've got to move on. I'm going to move on to another topic. Hold on, I got a question here.
Gilbert, you may not be able to read my scribbling because I scribbled it down. It was kind of, if you are the beneficiary, so I'm the beneficiary, and my parents have passed away, and they had like a savings bond, and they divided it up for the children, but it was put into savings, and it continues to roll over. Does that have to be taxed?
No, the only thing you're going to pay tax on is any interest earned. So the beneficiary would be liable. And again, there's some questions. I'd like to, see some paperwork on it. But typically, the beneficiary in that case would be liable for the dividends or interest that this money in the savings, whether it's a bond or money market or some of the things I typically I see them, they'll put the money in a CD, or they'll put it in a money market, or it's in a money market, they'll just leave it in there, they'll keep rolling it over. Okay, so the beneficiary is liable for taxes only on the interest, okay, and the dividend. Because if the money was put in there, it's not tax deferred. See, IRAs and 401ks are tax deferred. So the beneficiary actually has to pay the tax on the money, because that money was put away tax-free. So the IRS at some point would like to get their money. At some point they'd like to get their taxes. But in this matter, the only thing the beneficiary is liable for is tax on the interest. And it's just on the interest. It goes on your tax return as where we put, INT and DIV interest. Okay. And that is just a growing topic. That is a topic. I'm telling you. And I really pray, folks. I've only got 7 minutes left here. I really do pray about what to talk about, because this is so many topics. And I'm like, and I say, Jesus, what do you want me to share with the people? And I really, this estate and trusts and decedents estates has been very it's been a burden. And I mean that in a good way, just a good burden that I feel God's given me to share with the people. Because we have had so many people pass away, and we do live in, there is an aging population, and that, of course, that process is death. That process involves death, and you're going to have these people pass away, and there's a lot of, things that happen in the meantime. There's dementia, there's the issues with aging, there's declining health, and there's all these things that put so much stress on it. But I do believe, I believe that if we talk about these things, and there is planning we can do, and always with prayer and with a family that's together, at least united in what to do. But it all boils down to the people. You have to have your will. You have to have your things in order. Lou, that the generation that's passing away now was probably one of the greatest generations in America. I mean, the ones that fought World War II, the ones that fought Korea, Vietnam. I mean, these men are all passing away now. If you find a World War II veteran now, that's something. I mean, whenever I find one, it's like I stop and talk to him. We were at the airport. We're at the airport somewhere. I don't even remember where. And this man had his veteran World War II hat on, Okinawa. And I said, how old were you when you enlisted? 15? He laughed because he looked great. He laughed, and we talked, and Christy's like, we're going to miss our flight. I'm like, I don't care. I'm talking to an Okinawa. He was Iwo Jima. He was in Japan. This guy had the stories. And so this generation's passing away. As great as they were, one of the things they didn't talk about a lot was money and finances. And whereas I'm seeing with the younger generation, they're more open about it. Whereas that generation just didn't talk about it. They just didn't. And I understand it. A lot of them were the products of the Depression, the Great Depression, which is hard to believe that was 90 years ago, but still, they're the children of it. They grew up hearing about it, and a generation that was scarred by it taught them certain things. And they don't talk about it. So, again, getting back to the Uncle Marvin story, nobody knew Uncle Marvin had anything. They thought he was, an old hermit. Basically, that's the way he was described to me, who had, 2 pairs of overalls. And, when they found out he had $1.3 million, everybody's jaw dropped. And that generation just didn't talk about it. Nobody knew they were a beneficiary. Nobody knew they were going to get anything. And it just shocked everybody. So it's really not that we want to tell these people what to do. We really just want to help them. This is an important part of their legacy. And we are running out of time. Let me move on from that. So I'll be talking more about that. And if you've got any questions about this, or you find yourself in the situation you need help, please give me a call, 828-287-9300. Send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. Now, somebody asked me, and I'm going to have to defer this to next week, because this is a topic I could spend 20 minutes on, and if I don't really have a hold of it, I could really put everybody to sleep. Somebody wanted me to talk about North Carolina Business Form 504 and Schedule D specifically on that form. And I can give you the nutshell of what it says. The form's actually Form CD 504, and it's Schedule D. And what's Schedule D, what you do, and this is for you businesses that filed North Carolina tax returns, what you do is you're supposed to put all tangible assets that are in North Carolina, okay? All tangible assets located in North Carolina. So if you're a multi-state corporation, or you're warehousing in another state, or doing some things, this all needs to be looked at. Tangible assets in North Carolina at book value. People ask me, what's book value? That is the purchase price less your depreciation. Bottom line, it's your reserve for depreciation that's permitted for income tax purposes. Now, right there, we can have a 3-hour Gilbert Talks Taxes lecture, because North Carolina depreciates assets differently than the federal government. My wife was helping me. My wife, Christy, who works with me, many of you have met her. She, who's a great tax preparer, by the way, she's an engineer by trade. She's a civil engineer, but she worked for a custom home builder for almost 20 years, and she thought she would never be doing taxes with me. Well, she's jumped right in, both feet, and does a great job. I was trying to teach her about depreciation, and depreciation is a very hard subject. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to know about it. And when I told her there are CPAs whose entire career is doing depreciation, analyzing depreciation, and filling out depreciation forms, she just looked at me like, no way. I said, oh, yes. It is a whole subset of knowledge. Okay, North Carolina, to further complicate it, North Carolina and many states have their own rules for depreciation and how you can depreciate, for how long. The federal government has bonus depreciation and Section 179 depreciation. North Carolina does not recognize those rules, so they're different rules. So on this Schedule D, you're supposed to list all your tangible assets that are located in North Carolina at book value, and that is book value is your purchase price less your depreciation permitted for income tax purposes. Now, in addition to the types of property listed in the schedule, you're supposed to include all other tangible product, such as supplies and tools. Okay? Now, there is a whole code section. I'm not going to read that. And to throw another layer of complication on this, LIFO valuation is not permitted in these inventories. Now, I'm running out of time. I'm going to bring this back around next week. There's a whole section in here about personal properties. We're going to go till 5 after, Lou? Why are we doing that? Because we had the 4 minute. You're going to let me keep going till 5 after? Oh, yes. Look, Lou. I got another break to go? Oh, I got another break. That's right. So we're going to go till 5 after. Well, the only thing that's on after me is news. And really, who cares about that? Who cares about that? Let's go ahead and take that break then. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to get into this a little bit more. Well, the person that asked for this, there, your prayers were answered. You're going to get another 5 minutes of this. WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes. Gilbert Talks Taxes Extended Edition. WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9. I'm still going to come back and get into this topic more in weeks to come because there's a lot here. Those of you live streaming, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. www.wcab59.com. My telephone number at the office is 828-289-9300. You can reach me at gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. Now, I do prepare tax returns. I know we talk about all this complicated law, but we do tax returns. And I would love to do your tax return. If you're a person that's been putting off your tax return and you've got maybe several years of tax returns you've put off, now's the time to do them because you probably haven't gotten your stimulus and some other issues. I've had a few people that have come to me. They've just put it off. Why? And I always ask them why, and they just say, well, I just did. It's not even so much that they owe money. They just did. They don't do them. People that didn't think they had to because they had a little bit of income and stuff, they're finding they're getting a refund. And they're getting their stimulus money. So we do tax returns. We do a basic tax return. We do complicated tax returns. Give me a call, 828-289-9300. Now, getting back to this is a business tax return. When you're preparing a business tax return, there's it is Form CD 405. Now, there's a Schedule D, and there is some confusion about what goes on this schedule because it is confusing. And you really have to have a hold of it. Now, LIFO valuation is not permitted for inventories for North Carolina. Okay, so LIFO is last in, first out. So the way you evaluate your inventory is affected. A deduction from tangible property is allowed for indebtedness specifically incurred and existing by virtue of the purchase or permanent improvement of real estate located in North Carolina. Now, the deductible amount cannot exceed the book value. Again, book value is cost less depreciation of the real estate acquired or improvement made. Now, debts incurred in the purchase of personal property are not let me repeat that. Debts incurred in the purchase of personal property. Okay, so a debt incurred in the purchase of personal property are not deductible, even though the funds borrowed are secured by a lien against real estate. So that which, you would think because there is a lien and it is on the commercial asset that the indebtedness could be deducted from Schedule D. No, you cannot. Okay, so personal property is not deductible. Indebtedness owed to a parent, a subsidiary, or affiliated corporation constitutes a part of the debtor corporation's capital and therefore cannot be deducted from its tangible property. This is a whole conversation that I need to have with you if this is your situation. Okay, even though the indebtedness was incurred in the purchase or permanent improvement of real estate, the extent to which the indebtedness can be deducted is the amount of the total debt excluded by the debtor corporation from its net worth tax base by application of the creditor corporation's borrowed capital ratio. So we get into capital ratios, we get into net worth tax base. This little form has got a lot of information on it, and they're requiring a lot of information. And improperly filled out, this form can have a negative tax return, a tax impact on your tax return. Any questions right now, we're just going to have to, I'm going to have to take them with me. Yeah, tell them the news will be on and the weather will be on in just a few minutes. Tell everybody, Gilbert Talks Taxes is running overtime. I'm going to get some more into this, and I'm going to break this down into plain English for people, but I'm going to have to wait till next week. What time do I have left, Lou?
That's it.
That's it. The program's over. I will be back next Saturday at 8 a.m. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9.
The music's on us on WCAB.
From the county seat in Rutherfordton to the foothills